The company I work for, Fjord, is owned by Accenture, which employs over 500,000 people worldwide, all working in the fields of technology, strategy, creative, design, and innovation. And Fjord provide the design and innovation part to clients and governments across the globe. We operate out of 33 studios in 28 countries, and we have over 1,200 designers, all co-designing products and services powered by artificial intelligence, robotics, and other digital technologies. But perhaps the thing Fjord is most known for is our annual Fjord Trends report. And this here is the manifesto from Fjord Trends 2020, which has just been released. And if you haven't come across them before, Fjord Trends are essentially near futures in design and technology, crowdsourced from all 1,200 of our designers that our clients and others can use over the next 12 to 18 months to help guide their business strategies. And this year in Melbourne, we came up with a trend we couldn't put forward because the time frame for it to emerge looks more likely to be the next 10 years rather than the next 2. So we've put that one in a bottom drawer for later to revisit in a few years' time. But it sparked some really interesting discussion. I'm kind of going to share that with you today. Now, we gave this trend the working title U 2.0. And the gist of it was that products and services would begin to have to be rethought and redesigned at scale to accommodate a global population of smarter humans. And one of the signals we see out there supporting this future scenario is the explosion of interest in biohacking. And for those of you unfamiliar with this term, the quickest way to explain what biohacking is simply to introduce you to Serge Figuet. Now, Serge Figuet is a 34-year-old multi-millionaire tech entrepreneur based in Silicon Valley. He is a self-confessed extreme biohacker and so far has spent close to $300,000 US on all sorts of hacks designed to maximise his longevity and success. This is actually the best photo I could find of him, but I kind of feel like that smile is not quite reaching his eyes. And there are a host of good reasons for this, because in pursuit of living his best life, Serge has quit sugar, alcohol, TV and Netflix, masturbation, pornography, social media, reading or watching any kind of news, socialising at night, getting attached to people or things, the idea of having children citing poor ROI, and apparently having emotions. That's just a normal day for me. To encourage the forging of new neural pathways in his brain, Serge meditates at least 3 times a day. Despite having perfect hearing, he wears a $6,000 hearing aid to increase his ability to hear voice tones better during negotiations. An implanted glucose monitor ensures his insulin is always as low as possible so as to minimise any unwanted body fat storage. The likelihood of this is pretty low already, given that he follows the low-fat, high-fat, low-carb, ketogenic diet, eating once a day to maintain lean body mass and promote mental clarity. He also follows a long and punishing daily gym routine, confident he's performed this correctly when he feels like vomiting afterwards. He sleeps 9 hours a night, aided by a multitude of gadgets, all aimed at maximising the deep sleep stage where more neurons get manufactured. And he tracks all of this with a $600 hour ring, so he knows what to tweak for optimum daily performance. And then there's the drugs. Serge has ongoing relationships with a number of celebrity doctors who charge $500 an hour to run literally hundreds of tests on all of Serge's biomarkers to determine how to use medications to optimise his health and hormones. These inexplicably obliging doctors dispense multiple scripts for conditions Serge doesn't even have. Just some of the medications he takes include metformin to improve long-term memory recall and lower blood sugar, piracetam and valproate to stimulate neurogenesis, lithium for mood stabilisation, Clomid because, ew, feminine. Everyone knows it's testosterone you need to succeed in business, right? Escitalopram, which takes the edge off life and just makes everything feel that little bit brighter. And of course, modafinil, the pin-up drug of biohackers everywhere, provides him with acute focus and seriously ups his productivity. He used to take the amphetamine Adderall, but found it increased his anxiety. So he simply upped his dose of escitalopram and Serge was all G again. All in all, Serge washes down over 60 pills a day, including 30 supplements and naturally occurring nootropics, acknowledging that while some may be useless, he just isn't sure which ones. On top of all these pills, Serge injects himself with somatropin, otherwise known as human growth hormone, every morning. He remains 5'6". When he wants to exhibit high extroversion and empathy, like when he's going to call his family back in Russia or socialise with women he finds attractive, he microdoses MDMA. Now, microdosing, if you've been living under a rock, is the taking of tiny doses of Class A psychoactive drugs like LSD and psilocybin, the compound found in magic mushrooms. Taken once every 4 days, these microdoses definitely improve cognitive performance, stamina, creativity, and focus, or so I'm told. But perhaps the biggest deal of all for Serge is sex. All that testosterone needs somewhere to go, right? So if you need an excuse to have more sex, it's been shown to be beneficial in the formation of new neurons in a way that masturbation somehow is not, hence his self-imposed ban. So to ensure he's consistently growing a bigger brain, he regularly pays Eastern European sugar babies for this vital service. He is keen for you to understand, however, that none of these women are sex workers. After reading some of his views about women online, I think I know why none of them would perform this service for free. Now, obviously, this is biohacking taken to the very extreme, and it's kind of ironic when you consider that nothing is going to stop this guy from walking under a bus tomorrow. But everything Serge and other Silicon Valley tech gurus are doing in the biohacking space is towards an ultimate goal, and we'll get to what that goal is in a minute. And spoiler alert, it's probably a different reason than why any of you might be biohacking, and I'm pretty sure you're out there. But what is driving this phenomenon beyond the tech bros of Silicon Valley, and somehow they are almost always bros, and into the mainstream? Well, for us non-millionaires, it's down to two things. It's the exponential advance of technology and the state of the world today. So the way we view our culture, our purpose, and ourselves is being rapidly reinvented in parallel with the quantity of technological power at our disposal. One side effect of this is the current epidemic of burnout. Our own expectations of ourselves and what we are capable of are changing to meet the increasing speed of this new world, where what technology can achieve for us is becoming virtually limitless. And it's natural that as our obsession with the power of machines and technology grows, we seek to become more like them. We want to break free from the constraints of our biology and be better, faster, stronger versions of ourselves. We want to tweak our own components and motors and processes to increase productivity, and we definitely want to minimise the things about us that may land us on the human scrap heap. Secondly, the state of the world today. Capitalism is having an ugly midlife crisis. Have you noticed? Just 8 men have as much wealth as the poorest 3.6 billion people on the planet. In spite of the ever-increasing productivity that's being demanded of us, wages are flatlining. The once insulating concept of community is disappearing thanks to increasing neoliberalism. It's now up to the individual to make themselves whole and complete with the help of the marketplace, of course. And for some reason, no one really trusts governments or institutions anymore. And traditional ideas of political leadership are being subverted, or in some cases are literally being perverted, depending on what your political position is. Add in your garden variety social media anxiety, a looming climate emergency, and insecurity around the coming mass automation of jobs, and suddenly everyone starts looking very nervous. And all of this is what I think is at the centre of our quest to transcend our humanity and become more machine-like. Before, we seem to be competing for promotions and dates and to get into the goddamn housing market, but we're entering a world of literal cranial Darwinism where only those with the biggest brains survive. And if you aren't doing it already, it's likely that at some point in the very near future, you are going to have to decide what lengths you will go to maintain your edge over the competition. How far are you prepared to go? What is too extreme for you? And here's where we segue very neatly back to Serge and his extremes. The point of all this biohackery, for those with serious cash, is to be in tip-top shape for when the singularity arrives. Serge's hope is to be upgraded by unthinkable technology not yet possible, and in his words, become a god. He's a transhumanist, and he's not alone. Serge and others like him believe anyone not on board, or rich enough, to embrace a transhuman future will become the victims of a two-speed society, where those without superintelligence will simply cease to have any societal influence at all, and will become essentially useless. Silicon Valley's future human optimisation strategy is basically this: upgrade or fail. Now, the last significant upgrade we had to our intelligence and productivity was with the introduction of the smartphone back in 2007. It literally provided us with a portal to the sum total of all human knowledge, that while not technically part of us, was an extension of us. Tellingly, humans have chosen to use this incredible tool primarily to access cat videos. But regardless, I think we can all agree, smartphone technology has kind of plateaued, right? In fact, in the interceding 10 or so years, smartphones went from a status symbol to becoming a kind of chore. But somehow they're a chore we now all can't live without. Where smartphones used to be most useful to us, their owners, now they're most useful to the corporations who own the data that flows through them. And that's data that allows us to be contacted, tracked, micro-targeted, and our actions predicted and influenced every moment of every day. And if we'd known in 2007 what smartphones would ultimately become in 2020, we may have thought twice about them. And there's a lesson there for future technologies. Stay tuned. We've willingly traded in our privacy for convenience because there's this very pervasive notion out there that technological progress simply cannot be stopped. In fact, it's central to our human evolution. And evolve we must, faster and faster, becoming ever more productive. So where to from here? How can we further maximise our productivity? Well, that's where our next upgrade comes in and is aimed at solving the most enduring productivity problem that we have, and that is we think much faster than we can type. Imagine this. It's 6:15 p.m. sometime in the future. You've just got on the fast train to Geelong to return home after work at your punishing corporate gig. Your employer-supplied smart drug dose is starting to wear off and you're beginning to tire, but you need to use your 20-minute commute to wind up a few things. You pull out your smartphone and grimace as a loud voice a couple of seats ahead of you alerts you to the fact that there's a mouther in your carriage shouting into their phone. Now, mouthers are what we call people who didn't qualify for or who can't afford a think-it, which is the device blinking in your left ear as it picks up your thoughts directly from the neurons in your brain. You decide you'll quickly check in on your ageing mother until the mouther lets up. Your mother didn't qualify for a think-it either, so you're going to have to do this the old-fashioned way. You think about launching your messaging app and it opens instantaneously. As you think your message to your mother, words populate the text box on your screen in real time. But then your concentration is rudely interrupted as an ad for a food delivery service bursts into your consciousness. You long to be able to upgrade to the ad-free version of think-it's operating system. But a new gamified business model means the more you use the system, the better your access to premium features. You know the thoughts that you're having about the ad are being recorded in the interests of serving you up a more effective one next time. You've tried thinking weird things for fun just to screw with the algorithm. But think-it knows a real thought from a fake one, and it doesn't work. So you wait patiently until the thought in your head goes away. Suddenly, your partner floods into your mind and you realise they're actually calling you. So you answer internally, warming at the thought of them literally being inside your head. They just got home and ask what you fancy for dinner. And you say, that's funny, I was literally just then thinking about Thai food. And you suggest ordering in when you get home. Or wait, was that an ad? The longer you wear your think-it, the harder it is to tell. For the past 2 years, Facebook has been working on the tech that could see that scenario become a reality, but you already knew that because this is PauseFest, right? If you didn't know that, surprise. Obviously, it won't be called a think-it, that was just me making up a name to illustrate this scenario. But this and other BCIs, brain-computer interfaces, or BBIs, brain-to-brain interfaces, are being developed by a host of other companies, most notably Elon Musk's Neuralink. And they are all in a race to deliver first and cash in. Some of this tech will be wearable, some of it will be implanted directly into your brain. But crucially, the development of all of this tech means an end to the last refuge of privacy that we have, and that is the space between our own two ears. These technologies will trespass rights we aren't even aware we need yet, like I have the right to know what thoughts are my own and what thoughts are external. I have the right to hide or share my brain data as I see fit. And I have a right to maintain access to what is essentially now a part of me, even if a government or corporation wants to take it back. Or even just straight up, I don't want this. I feel like the privacy concerns around this kind of technology need to be prioritised above the design and build of it, which currently isn't happening fast enough to keep pace with development. And even before that, I feel like this kind of technology could be being used for better reasons than future private profit. Now let me introduce you to Peter Scott Morgan, a world-renowned roboticist and AI expert who was diagnosed with motor neurone disease in 2017. Now, actually, this is not him. This is an avatar created by CGI experts who worked on the Star Wars franchise. Most people diagnosed with MND tragically die within 3 years. To try and outrun this brutal disease, with the time that he has left, Peter is actively working towards becoming the world's most advanced cyborg. Microsoft, Dell, Intel and DXC, along with Accenture and Fjord, have formed a mega tech and design alliance, and we're working with him pro bono with the aim of helping him and others retain what it is to be human. All of his physical interactions with the world will become robotic. Part of his brain and all of his external persona will soon be totally synthetic, all powered by a brain-computer interface. While Peter was still able to speak, 60 hours of his voice were recorded and analysed, and AI will use that data to power his voice synthesizer and animated avatar. Peter doesn't intend to merely survive, he intends to thrive, and is paving the way for others who are unable to express their humanity. And to me, this is what technology for good looks like. But just when the world needs technology for good the most, it seems we're in the grip of a tech for tech's sake pandemic. This is supposedly what the bathroom of the future will look like, as seen at CES in Las Vegas last month. And I kind of feel like we might be wasting precious time here. That connected bath mat won an award, by the way. If you work for anyone who considers this kind of thing to be innovation, please reconsider your career path. Your skills are needed to solve bigger problems than an unexpected shortage of toilet paper. And on that note, I want to close by saying what you are smart enough to know already. No drugs required. Right now, humanity, and particularly our children, need us to ensure that our knowledge, creativity, and expertise are being used not just to design things right, but to design the right things. And that includes what all future humans are capable of. If you take one thing away from what I've said today, please make it this. Technology is a tool, not an objective. Over the next 10 years, we'd better use that tool more wisely than we have been. Thank you.